So yeah, I'm Thom. I lead all of product design at Intercom, and as just mentioned, I'm going to talk to you about how we built Finn, the #1 agent for customer service. But I think, clicker's not working. Oh, it is working now, okay. More interestingly, how we completely redesigned the company and the design team as well to be able to do that, and how we tore up over a decade of Intercom's history and tore up over a decade of habits and culture and process in able to do that, and how as a result of that, I think today we have a far more impactful and strategically strong design team. So first, what is Finn? So Finn is the #1 agent specifically designed for customer service, #1 by performance benchmarks, #1 by bake-offs, #1 by ranking in G2. About 6,000 customers, and they get on average about a 65% resolution rate, and a resolution to a customer is an end customer, so like imagine an e-commerce business that has an end customer's buying a product, they have a problem, they have an inquiry, and if that agent is able to resolve that query, then we classify that as a hard resolution. If they don't resolve it or they escalate to a human, we don't classify that as a resolution. Some customers peak at 85%, so if you imagine a world before Finn 2 years ago, that was 85% more interactions with human customer support agents that are now gone. But most importantly, that resolution rate is growing every single month. It's grown on average about 1 percentage point per month for the last 18 months, so it continually gets better over time. Finn's one of the most powerful agents on the market as well. So it resolves more complex queries and performs more complex tasks than any other agent. As this example shows here, this is somebody changing a plan or a subscription level, quite a complex thing that would have a lot of deep system integrations. It's done completely autonomously by Finn. There's no human involved at all with that. Customers get up and running really quickly with Finn. There's a no-code installation process, and they continue to improve that implementation through an OODA loop of analyze, train, testing, and deploying. So customers run through that loop, and we're able to surface insights to them about how they can improve their Finn implementation. And that in turn increases the number of conversations that Finn actually gets involved in, but also the number of conversations that Finn's able to resolve, so building that 65% resolution rate upwards. So Finn deeply integrates with a lot of other tools, things like Stripe and Snowflake and Shopify, or like even bespoke systems that a company may have built themselves through like APIs or MCP servers, and that allows Finn to complete really complex tasks. So that could be things like issuing a refund, or it could be triggering a return from an e-commerce company, or it could be crediting an account, like really deep, complex business processes. And Finn's able to do that fully autonomously, no human involved at all. And it's been in existence for just over 2 years now. It's already been involved in more than 50 million conversations for customers, for those 6,000 customers. But why build Finn in the first place? So Intercom, as I said at the start, I introduced myself as the product design lead for Intercom. Intercom's been around for about 14 years, like well over a decade. And it was one of the pioneers in customer support for online businesses. So we help companies communicate with their customers primarily in like a human-to-human basis. So a human who buys a product or a human who subscribes to a SaaS service, they have a problem, they inquire, and it goes through to a human customer support agent, and that agent resolves that. But also through things like some very early, like deterministic-based bot flows. Everybody's been on those like chatbots where there's buttons and you click buttons and you go through a flow that's very deterministic. There's like defined paths in there. And Intercom was pretty successful before Finn, like hundreds of millions in ARR every single year, and 30,000 customers, 500 million messages a month, like really successful SaaS company. So why pivot and build something completely new? Why build Finn on the right-hand side there? A product that actually reduces the need for human seats in a SaaS product, like reduces our revenue, that multiple million, hundreds of millions of ARR. Because we had really strong conviction that if we didn't do, Intercom was probably going to die. And I have strong conviction today that every SaaS company that sells seats in a product is going to be like, dramatically affected by the AI revolution. Like the single biggest disruptive technology of our lifetime. I think it's going to be bigger than the internet. I think we're already seeing the early signs of that today. And we believed that customer service would be one of the industries that would be first turned upside down, first revolutionized by that big change. And we had such strong conviction about customer service because we saw a massive overlap. Like the things that customer services teams do every single day are the things that LLMs are actually great at, large language models. Knowing or finding the right answers to questions, writing thorough responses, summarizing information, chatting with customers, solving basic problems. Those are the things that human customer support agents do day in, day out, every single day. And they're also the things that LLMs are great at. They're great at consuming and synthesizing information. They're great at generating text response to prompts. They're great at taking a large amount of information and summarizing it down. They're great at simulating friendly back and forth conversations. Everybody's had that experience before, and they have some like basic reasoning built in. But we also saw that LLMs could do a lot more than humans can do. Like, unlike a customer support team, a human customer support team, an LLM can speak any language straight out of the box. It can reply instantly. It can reply 24/7. Like humans come to things like this. Humans go on holidays. Humans take breaks. Humans have bad days. And AI does none of those things. It was going to be fundamentally better for businesses, but also for end consumers at the end of that chain. Like, no more of those like Black Friday mad panic moments for companies who have to scale their support team. Like, companies literally double their human-based support team ready for moments like Black Friday or like Christmas sales. Or at the other end of that, for shoppers who are at the other end of the transaction, who are trying to understand where their product is, or they are trying to get a refund or a return issued. Fin and AI was able to give instant resolution at infinite scale. But this was like a really brand new product. Like, it was a world away from that really stable, predictable, decade, 10-year-old Intercom SaaS product we've been building for a long time. And it's actually really difficult to build the future while encumbered by the past. And Steve Jobs famously created a completely new team to build the first Macintosh. You put them in a separate building. You had a separate key card. You weren't able to get in that building. You put a pirate flag on the roof. And they were totally unencumbered by all of Apple's process. Like, he removed all the bureaucracy. He gave them permission to break every single rule. And he had no business as usual type work. Intercom had a lot of bureaucracy, like a lot of business as usual, the type of thing that grows out of the habits of a 10-year-old company, a lot of meeting bloat, a lot of like docs and a lot of processes that were like baked into things. And like, we even wrote books on how to bring product to market, like really safe, really stable, really slow, really predictable, the type of thing you want when you have 30,000 customers and hundreds of millions in ARR, like really predictable, risk averse. But we knew our competitors were not going to do that. They were going to start to move at the speed of light, and they were going to make really bold decisions, and they were not going to be inhibited by that past that didn't exist for them. So it was about September, October 2022 time. I'd been at the company for literally 2 months at that time, so like I was pretty fresh to it. And also Owen, one of our CEO and one of our founders, came back to the company at that time. And he brought a lot of energy back to the company, a type of like founder mode energy that might be called in the industry, kind of like the only energy a founder CEO type does. And it was also around the time that ChatGPT was released, and Intercom already had an AI team, really small, 2, 3, 4 people, and we were already working a little bit in that space to be able to do things like those deterministic bot flows or like neural nets in the background for our human-based support product. Because of that, we were able to quickly launch a few kind of AI features that I call like sprinkling of the AI across the product. They were like enabling humans to be more efficient, think like Copilot experiences, that type of thing in our human-based inbox. But the number one thing we kept asking ourselves is like, could ChatGPT, like that type of product, just answer customer questions anyway? Like, rather than making a human more efficient, could we just eliminate the human in that process? And it was clear that this was so much better at understanding natural language than anything we'd seen before. And when GPT-4 came out, that was like a paradigm shift moment. It was a model that was specifically designed to reduce hallucinations. And we could see straight away that this was going to be like a completely revolutionary for the customer service industry. And Owen just like made the decision. It was literally from a Friday, GPT-4, to a Monday, we were going to go all in on AI. We were going to completely start over again as a company. And we flipped that company strategy from like a really stable 12, 24-month kind of strategy and roadmap to a super flexible one. Like a roadmap, quite honestly, that was built on intuition more than anything else, and a lot of like conviction on what the future might look like. Like, we didn't actually know what the product is that we needed to be built. Quite honestly, today, we don't know the product that needs to be built in 6 months' time. We have a lot of like conviction about what that product is, but we don't know for sure. But we have really strong opinions, and we remained super focused, but also very flexible. And we used to work like a traditional SaaS company. That's often called the Spotify model. Teams owning product areas, like each of those teams have a designer, they have a PM, they have some engineers, and they own a slice of the product, and they work on that product for a long period of time. They get like deep domain knowledge, and they build that up over a period of time, and then they iterate on the product, and they keep releasing cycles. Like those teams would be grouped together with other teams that look exactly like that, and they would own big vertical slices of the product. That's perfect for like a really mature SaaS company. It made absolutely no sense for a brand new product where the technology was completely new and we had no idea what we needed to build. So we moved to something called work streams. And work streams were our way of focusing the entire R&D team in the company on a single stack rank list of priorities. Each work stream had a DRI, that's a directly responsible individual. It's a single person. Sometimes it's a PM, sometimes it's an engineer, sometimes it was a designer. And that DRI was 100% accountable for the outcomes of that work stream. No committees, no kind of like consensus culture, no blurred lines, one owner, and 100% focus on that. Every 3 months, we would review that list of objectives. Like I've clearly blanked them out for a reason. And we would either extend it, or we would park it, or we'd pivot, and we'd completely scrap that idea. And new work streams were approved by a single person. Our chief strategy officer was one of our founders. And if you were tasked to one of those work streams, you did nothing else. You were exempt from perf reviews. You were exempt from everything that went with like the bloat of a big company. And you focused on that work stream and nothing else but that work stream. And some streams had no designers, some streams had 1, some had 5. Like the shape of that team totally flexed with the shape of the work. And that meant design couldn't just like adapt, it had to completely reinvent itself. And we made 4 key changes that not only drove our success with Fin as it is today, but I think has set our team up for like to be stronger, more impactful than ever in the world that we live in today. The first thing we did was completely centralize that team, quite commonly known as like agency type model. And in that old SaaS world, design was stable and predictable, like one team, one designer, they build up deep domain knowledge, and that's perfect for that really mature product that we were building. But with the work streams, the demand for design changed quite literally daily. Like one day or 1 week, a work stream might need 0 designers, and the next week it might need 1, 5, like a technology might unlock a new opportunity. And that broke that one model, like one-to-one model of one designer to one team. So we completely centralized that design team. Like instead of locking designers into silos, we could move them around like really fluidly, and we could have them work on the highest priority work at all times. And that called for a pretty big mindset shift. Like designers no longer owned parts of the product. The leaders in those spaces no longer owned vertical slices of the product. Like it was a big change for that team. We also made a conscious effort to move from what I call professional managers to like true product leaders. Like it's a pretty big shift, and one that I still see quite widely. Hasn't happened in the design industry, to be honest. There's still a lot of what I call abstract professional management, and I think somewhere along the way we turned the idea of being like people first into like stay the hell away from the work. And we built a whole generation, me included. I was part of that generation. I've been around for a long time. I'm a lot older than I actually look. And we taught that generation that their job was to keep the team happy and to resolve conflict and to never, God forbid, get too close to the work. It's kind of like suggestion, not direction. But the truth is, the only thing that really matters is the work itself. Like in a world where AI is building product faster and faster than ever before, like great design, real craft, real creativity, real attention to detail, that's your differentiator. That's, if anything, potentially the last true moat left for a product when the technology commoditizes. And it's not enough to optimize for like harmony and health of a team if you're not directing clearly. And we moved managers at Intercom to become leaders and to be close to the work, to be setting the bar for what great looks like, for be challenging safe choices, and for getting the product and engineering partners to really think harder about the solutions that we're producing, and then driving creativity, not just protecting the process that they developed over a long period of time or was written in the documents that were handed to them when they joined the company. We also moved from like quite defined, narrow roles to like a more generalist type role. When we set out to build Fin, I think we knew that success wouldn't come from like strict adherence to like a real competency matrix. Like if you look for Intercom's design competency matrix, it's publicly available. It's quite intense. Like there's a lot of checkboxes and a lot of things that you have to go through. Like honestly, we don't use it internally in the same way anymore. Like, it's out there. I know a lot of you, like the Spotify model, Spotify moved away from. We don't look at that competency framework in the same way that we used to. We needed more like Swiss Army knife style designers, like designers who are excellent in their core craft. There's no getting away from that. You still have to be excellent in your core craft, but could also like adapt on the fly, and they could pick up new skills really quickly and tackle new challenges whenever it was thrown at them. And we'd look for really specific traits in those people. We'd look for people who had like a real growth mindset and like a really unwavering conviction in their ideas, like strong ideas loosely held, and the ability to plug into a team and uplift that team straight away. And we sought people who were self-starters. We sought people out who had real agency and who thrived in a collaborative environment, but also like were able to strike out on their own. Like, we wanted designers to be DRIs. We wanted designers to have an equal seat at the table as their PM partners, like known as the mini CEO of the product. We have designers who are DRIs who are the mini CEO of their area of the product. And we also moved from designers to like more builders. Most software companies look like this today still, like a PM, designer, bunch of engineers, engineering manager maybe. And whilst building thin, and I think probably even more so in the last 6 to 12 months, I've got stronger and stronger conviction that those days are kind of over, and that the days look a little more like this, and that the future isn't individual roles held by PMs or designers or engineers. It's product people or builders, whatever you want to call it. It's the disciplines that we relied upon. They were just constructs that we created, quite honestly, and it was useful scaffolding. It was really useful for the ZIRP era. Like, it was super useful, and until they weren't useful anymore. And I think AI collapses a lot of that scaffolding, and the builders are what really matter now, like the product people are what really matter now. And I think specialisms will still exist. They have a really important place, like deep expertise, but I think the vast majority of a team will look something similar to a person that munges together all of these roles into one, and it might be a builder or a product person. And that's not just about like shiny new tools or like the latest tool that's available on the market. It's about collapsing that gap between design and delivery, and having tight feedback loops and faster collaboration and a cleaner path from product problem to solution in a customer's hands. Earlier this year, we set a challenge. Like, every single designer at Intercom had to ship code to production, to our actual production app. And within a quarter, we actually did that. Every designer spun up their own dev environment, they merged a PR, and they left their fingerprints directly on the product itself. And on the surface, that's kind of symbolic. Like, it's kind of arbitrary, like forcing your design team to go through that process of shipping a PR. But what it actually does is set a really strong foundation for the future. It's enabled the design team to have a far wider breadth of impact, and it's completely unlocked an entirely new wave of innovation amongst the team. Like, every designer's code still went through code review, multiple peer code review by engineers. Like, nothing shipped to the product that wasn't at the standard that we would ship to the product if you've been an engineer with 20 years experience. Since then, we've been exploring lots of new tools and lots of new ways of working. This is just a snapshot that I took 2 days ago from lists of things that are shared in our Slack channel. Designers are spending far less time developing flat kind of screens in something like Figma, and they're spending far more time prototyping with intent. They're using lots of AI tools to spin up multiple ideas quickly, to stay lean, to avoid over-polish too early, and to validate with working prototypes in the hands of customers. We've developed our own guidance for how to set up a dev environment that's specifically tailored for designers, not for engineers. And we have cursor rules that are specifically for designers as well that plug into our cursor implementation. And they don't stop designers from making changes in the product, but they guide them through that process. Like, Intercom is a 2 million line code base. You have to understand the impacts of the change that you're making. It might feel local, but it actually could have global impacts. So our cursor rules help point that out and guide them and ping other people to come in and help review that code to make sure it's making the right changes. We rebuilt our Intercom design website. So quite honestly, we took it down. We were embarrassed about it. It wasn't relevant to the company that we have today and the design team that we have today. We took it down because we couldn't invest engineering resources in it. It wasn't a high priority. But we managed to rebuild it in a hack day. This took 4 hours with 3 designers and a bunch of AI tools kind of like woven together. And it's now possible for design to own this thing from start to finish. Like, we update it on our own. We can we're able to add more content to it, and we're able to manipulate it in the way that we want. And that's amazing that we're able to ship that. We didn't even need engineers to deploy to the right domain. We were able to do it ourselves. One of our designers, Domingo, who runs my design infrastructure team, he started to build his own prototyping playground because we tried a ton of different tools and we're not happy with any of them. So he started to build his own in our React app. So that allows designers to prototype directly within our product. They can take a branch of the product off, and they can start playing with our design system code inside that product. But they can also connect it to a customer's workspace, so they can pull in real live data into that, and they can fill the UI that they're trying to create with live data, and it has high interaction fidelity. And there's zero setup needed because they all did that shipping a PR process, which meant they've got their dev environment set up and they're ready to go already. So it's starting to unlock things like this being possible. So without these changes, I don't think we could have built Thin as it is today. Short-term changeable roadmaps, like a real extreme focus on work streams, centralizing the design team, it was like what we needed at that point. Moving to leaders, not just managers, and like Swiss Army knife style generalists, and builders. Like, builders are the futures, not just designers. But we're still really early. Like, and I'd be lying to you if I told you we had all this worked out. Who knows what the future is going to hold? Like, we're super, super early on like the S-curve of innovation for AI. The best ways of working have not been worked out yet. Like, they're still to come probably. We're super, super early. But the role of a designer is going to change probably week to week. There's always something new, right? Like, there's always some kind of new tool or recommendation. And it's going to keep changing for a long time to come, in my opinion. But if I was to put a stake in the ground, I think this is what the role may look like in the future. Like, we're going to shape what gets built. We're going to shape the roadmap and shape with vision pieces, but they're not going to be 100-slide Google Docs anymore. They're going to be functional, vibe-coded, super high interaction fidelity, high data fidelity prototypes that we're able to create now, and we're able to put in the hands of stakeholders, and more importantly, put in the hands of customers, and it feels like the real product. We're going to execute with speed and with craft. Like, we're going to build the product. We're not just going to, what I call, painting pictures of it in Figma. We're actually going to build that product. And then we're going to own continuous improvement. Somebody talked yesterday about design debt. I think it was actually the panel that I was on. Design debt's kind of like a thing of the past at Intercom. We have our own backlog in Linear, and designers just pay down that debt. You can add items to it, and then when you've got some spare capacity, or we have like wiggle weeks in our kind of like quarterly planning process, people just spend a week paying down design debt, or like they've got a spare half an hour, quite literally, it can be that easy. They just fix the problem when they see it in the product. And that's the playbook that we're writing as a design team at Intercom, like a modern design team that I think brings a lot of clarity, a lot of creativity, and like world-class execution at real speed. Like, not sacrificing quality, but we're able to achieve both at real speed. So yeah, wrapping up my 5 takeaways for positioning your team for this AI revolution. You've got to go all in. It's not about like dabbling. You can't just kind of sprinkle. You've got to go all in and make a big change. And going all in means letting go. Like, we had over a decade of history, and we built up a lot of like predictable process. You've got to leave all that behind. It's not going to get you there where you need to go. But you should do that with optimism. I truly believe this is design's renaissance. This is the thing we've all been waiting for forever. Well, you've been given the keys to build. Like, how fucking amazing is that? Like, we've been given the opportunity. It's the thing we've been waiting for our entire careers. But you've got to do that with curiosity, because right now curiosity is going to be experience because nobody has experience in this space. Like, it's so early, nobody has experience. And that's because the best ways of working truly haven't been worked out right now, so nobody can have experience. I'll leave you on that. Thanks.